This is Things You Might Not Have Heard. I am Jay Cleveland Payne, bringing you in just a moment the latest from the weekend's top stories in politics, current events, and pop culture that you told us were some of the greatest ones. We are your go-to supplemental source for mainstream and unconventional news stories, so we give you some stories that you may have missed because the mainstream was stuck in some things, and some perspective on some of the other ones that may be seemingly a little different than normal. Plus, conversation with literally people from around the world is perspectives you may not have gotten because we mixed them up a little bit better, I believe. Now, we're going to talk about that guy who did that thing in New York over the weekend because we have to. It's a big story. But we also have 9 other stories that were vetted by you as conversational. We'll explain deeper in how the whole conversational thing works and how our feeds work and how you get a chance to vote the stories up because you vet them and then I take them and pull the stories directly to get the right narrative. We took from the top 30 stories, by the way, from the weekend, so you get those. And the 10 stories we have are 10 of those big ones. Plus, we added a feature where we'll talk about some things that we didn't actually talk about because there is perspective for some states that didn't get missed out in there. So give us about 15 minutes to get the news in, and we'll have all that taken care of. Plus, we'll sell you some stuff, we'll do some promoting, and we have some very good fun stuff at the end. So stick around for the fun stuff. You will love the fun stuff. We'll remind you real quick that our main website is conversationproject.com for more details on all the things we do all day long. It makes less chatter and more work to get here, but don't go there yet. Go there when we're done. Right now, let's get into the work for today being Monday, August the 7th, 2023. Our first headline is this one. WGA and AMPTP cannot agree to resume negotiations. Strike to go on indefinitely. Now, earlier in the weekend, we said they were going back to the table, and then pretty much after that, it turned to, this thing ain't going to be done anytime soon. They failed to reach an agreement over the weekend on Friday to resume the contract negotiations. They did not figure out how to talk. They couldn't figure out which Starbucks to meet at and what snacks to get. So they're going to go back to not talking, which means nothing's getting done. A big statement going out to the members of the WGA saying exactly what's happening, and a big statement going out to the folks representing the AMPTP saying what's happening. Both sides are blaming the other sides for what's not happening. This isn't even dealing with the writers. This is just literally the actors. I'm sorry, this isn't dealing with the actors. This is just dealing with the writers getting back in there, getting it backwards. It is going to be hellacious for anything coming up because anything that would be starting in the next season within the next couple of weeks would have started months ago when the writers went on strike and would be wrapping up the early parts right about now, even though the actors went on strike a few weeks after that. TV is going to be interesting for a while. If you're watching streaming services, watching Netflix, there's a lot of Korean stuff being released right now, and you can see the difference. Our second story for the morning. Florida officials tell state schools to teach AP psychology in its entirety. Now, I had a little brain freeze when I tried to talk about this and some of the weekend stuff. I could not pull out what AP course was the issue. It's psychology. And the issue was Florida has a bill that is basically called the Don't Say Gay bill, which does not allow you to speak about in classroom talk anything dealing with LGBTQ plus things. Because apparently some of those things are taught in psychology and in AP psychology. So for a while, the gray area was Florida could not actually teach the class and not offer that class up because the college board said, it's illegal. So I guess they can't have it. Now, AP Psychology is basically allowed in Florida, but there is a caveat saying that you can't say why for a while it couldn't be. It doesn't make any sense to say why you can't talk about something, but that's the caveat. The Florida Education Commission says that they can now teach the entire AP Psychology classes without any sort of handbrakes on it to keep things down. Like I said, you just can't say why there was the kerfuffle just a few days prior. Suits executive producer says the reboot is possible, but Meghan Markle will not probably be in it. And that's sort of the thing. Suits had a revival over the past couple of weeks because there's nothing else to watch on TV. So people who did get a chance to watch Meghan Markle in her younger days or want to get a chance to kind of see what the whole thing was about got a chance to see a very good show. The show isn't so much about Meghan Markle. She's a recurring character in that, if you will. I don't think she's even main headliner because of who's in that. But the show is about a lawyer who hires a guy who isn't a lawyer but fakes it because he's still a genius, and the hilarity that ensues. And of course, the big bad is the other lawyer in the office who's trying to figure out why this guy's doing all this work and try to get him fired. Meghan Markle played the love interest to Mike, the not lawyer, and was apparently very good with a character, Rachel Zane. What happens going forward, we shall see going forward, since Suits right now isn't in the reboot stage, because nothing is. But it's possible because of the popularity of the show. Biggest deal is the reason why the show got really popular is because people was curious about Meghan Markle. That's sort of the thing. But it happens a lot when they redo shows and they don't bring back the main characters or the fun characters and make reversions. You can think about the Roseanne shows that turned into the Connors, things like that, or Valerie. Think about that if you remember that show. Valerie, which turned into Valerie's Family because Valerie, left the show, and so they decided to kill her, which happened in Roseanne, oddly enough. Let's talk about a couple fights. Big fight this weekend with Jake Paul wins unanimous decision against Nate Diaz in boxing bout. Now, Jake Paul, although he's the big, doughy, goofy-looking guy, is a big-time YouTuber and a pretty good boxer, apparently. So apparently he was able to parlay his doing goofy stuff on videos for kids who don't understand that he's so goofy to beating up people for real. Nate Diaz, an actual killer in the ring, although the octagon is really where he works out, comes out into his first boxing bout. I believe this is his very first bout as a professional boxer, so he's new to this. And Jake Paul, who's had a few bouts, had some time to work this thing out, pretty much beat him up this weekend. Now, we get a chance to throw three stories in one. Number one extra story is his brother, Logan Paul, who got a chance to do a fake fight in the WWE prior in the night. And I say fake fight because I watched the whole thing, so I love me some WWE, and got a win using some shady tactics on the TV show. Now, what happened from there was he left the show, flew to be with his brother at the fight in Vegas, and oddly enough, didn't even have time to change out his gear from wrestling. He showed up in his wrestling gear, was there for his brother, and saw Jake win the match. Now, here's the thing. The fight of the night was not in a ring, in an octagon, in a squared circle. It was on a baseball diamond. White Sox's Tim Anderson, Guardians' Jose Ramirez ejected after benches cleared in fight. Those two went at it hard. Shortstop Tim Anderson and third baseman Jose Ramirez just started throwing bones out there in what looked like a boxing match, even though it was really a baseball game that was playing at Progressive Field. The two got ejected. The bases, the benches were cleared. Everybody went to swinging. It was a thing, and it was what it's expected. Now, those two are out of the lineups for right now as they're doing all the investigations. But literally, while Jake Paul got his big fight in and beat up a guy who's used to beating people up, watching two baseball players sort of, in this case, it wasn't even like fake. Most of the time it's like air punches, like fake punches. These two were going at it. This thing was a big deal. And we'll see repercussions for weeks to come for those teams. Madonna announces plans to reschedule tour dates after medical emergency, which we knew was going to happen, but she's actually talked about it. She's going to resume her celebration tour dates in the next few days after she was hospitalized for a serious bacterial infection. This tour should have started about middle last month, but because of her being hospitalized literally a week before things were kicking off, she obviously wasn't going on tour to deal with this stuff. Madonna was so bad, she was intubated in New York City Hospital for at least one night after developing a serious bacterial infection. She is now better. She's now doing more recovery and doing more rehab, and we were seeing pictures of her on her social media being in better spirits and better health. We also know she's got to get back to work. It looks like her European tour, essentially the second leg, will basically start as is. They may shift it a couple weeks to deal with the American leg, but they're going to get some dates in very, very soon, within the next couple of weeks, to get things going. The J. Cleveland Payne retirement plan continues as the Mega Millions jackpot rises to a record $1.55 billion in Tuesday's drawing. Tuesday being tomorrow as we record this one. Mega Millions jackpot is a source of entertainment of winnings for players while generating important dollars for good causes supported by each lottery. Most lotteries are based on education or some sort of fund to deal with people who need extra funds because it's the whole syntax things. People put money into the lottery to pay for things that need to be done. 1.55 billion is a lot of money. I believe they said with the full payout that turns to right under 800, 900 million, something like that, with the taxes taken out. We shall see. Actually, we probably won't see because, as I say often, somebody's going to win this thing eventually, which is the truth. The odds are someone will win. It's just not going to be you or I. We will never win, but we still buy tickets because we have to fund education. Yeah, that's it. We're funding education. Influencer Andrew Tate released from house arrest while he awaits human trafficking and rape trial. Now, one of the odder things about this headline and the whole story is that Andrew Tate is doing the rounds of interviews. People are flying to Romania, hanging out in his house, and doing interviews with him in his house because he can't leave. Him and his brother Tristan are right there dealing with this. Of course, two Romanian women are also has restrictions for their movements because they are on trial for, exploiting women sexually and all sorts of things. But now we can actually leave the house. I'm not sure he really wants to leave the house or needs to leave the house or should leave the house, but he can actually leave his house. Maybe he can do an interview from a park. Maybe do an interview from the cafe. Maybe do an interview from an actual TV studio. Although I'm not sure they're going to now, let him come to actual TV studios. Andrew Tate, who also part of the big deal about what he's talking about, is essentially saying he's not on trial or he's not being accused of human trafficking and rape, saying, well, human trafficking sounds like this. This is, and his voice is just ridiculous. And human trafficking, when you take this and do this and blah, 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 blah. And rape, I don't rape people. I used to talk about being a player and raping folks back 20 years ago, but I don't do it anymore. And I don't pretend like I never talked about it. And just words, salads to those effects. Andrew Tate, J. Cleveland Payne's words, bad person. Let the hate come in 3, 2, now. I'm not sure if he's a bad person, but definitely bad judgment. Social media influencer Kai Cenat faces charges for inciting a riot after thousands caused mayhem in New York City. The very short version of this is Kai Cenat spent a couple days, about a week or so last week, promoting show up at Central Park, show up in New York City, show up at Union Square, show up all over the place, show up. We got some PlayStation 5s to give away. So thousands of people showed up, and thousands of people got in a little rowdy, and thousands of people got all sort of fussy. 65 people, including 30 juveniles, were arrested after a big fight broke out at a mall as the sort of being brought people out there. Cenat is a 21-year-old video creator with 6.5 million followers on Twitch and 4 million subscribers on YouTube. His 299 YouTube videos have amassed more than 276 million views. I have more than 299 videos on YouTube. I have about 100,000 views. And I'm jealous. But I'm also not on charges for causing a riot. So I'm not going to be that jealous. And finally, we had to sneak in some Lizzo somehow, and we did it via Charlamagne the God. Charlamagne says some Lizzo accusations are, quote, typical big girl in the strip club behavior, unquote, and warns that employees are not your friends. That's a quote that you should remember. It's something I say often in my business recordings. We'll talk about that. We'll sneak that in a little bit as well. Charlamagne the God believes that Lizzo's actions at a strip club were typical big girl behavior at a strip club, and including the body shaming and the verbal abuse. Essentially a big girl hanging out, getting drunk, being happy, and just acting like an ass in the club. The allegations against Lizzo became a topic of discussion on Thursday for their morning show, the Breakfast Club, where Charlamagne the God gave his 2 cents on the issue, basically gave a whole $1.02, and basically highlighted that Lizzo should have set boundaries and distinctions between her employees and her friends, because these things happen. The big takeaway from this is people who you pay to do stuff for you might be your friends, but they're not always your friends because they need you to pay them to support themselves. So people who are hanging out with you and your ride or die, you might pay for drinks and stuff. Those are the folks you call your boys. People who you pay their rent, you pay their utilities, pay their car notes. you have to be careful about being friendly with, because these folks need you for for your employment ability, not so much for your friendship. So remember that. Remember not to get. I mean, it's a cautionary tale for all folks to not get too close to employees, because at some point in time you may have to cut them loose if they're not living up to standards. Here's a case where living up to standards, and now she's being sued because she got all handsy and funsy with folks that were really just folks that were on the payroll. Apologies, errors, and omissions. Nothing really to do here, except we're going to talk about four things we didn't talk about for the weekend, or at least here for the weekend. The big thing is no Trump. Trump was all over, or his lawyer was all over the TV, saying the same sort of random stuff all weekend. No Trump, no Lindsey Graham, no people enabling. None of that was in today's edition. We also didn't talk about Team USA. They were, of course, eliminated from the World Cup after losing to Sweden on penalty kicks. Simone Biles came back to kick some ass, be honest, in gymnastics competition. She came back for the first time in years, and she wins her competition at the U.S. Classic. And Coco Gauff becomes the first player since 2009 to win 4 WTA tournaments as a teenager. She's looking for her next major championship in the U.S. Open coming up in a few weeks. Congratulations to all those ladies getting this stuff done. Congratulations to the U.S. women's soccer team for representing. Donald Trump, you can go stick it. This is our teaser story for today. This means we could talk about the story tomorrow. We're teasing it now and telling you how to make this story reality into our next version of things you might have heard. Today we talked about 10 stories. We gave you 10 stories, 10 full stories that were pulled from the top 30 stories for the weekend. We're going to give you for the next 4 days, Tuesday through Friday, 8 stories from the top 15 stories per day. How do we find these stories? You go to our feeds on Facebook and Twitter. We find the stories in all sorts of ways being posted all day long. We post them to Facebook and Twitter, or X, and you give us some response. Facebook.com/This Is a Conversation Project and Twitter.com/TH_conversation. You see a story there while you're checking your feeds for other things, and you just engage with us. Like the story, love the story, hate the story, share the story, be bigger into the story. The story we are teasing for this Monday to possibly talk about Tuesday morning, headline from BBC, Zuckerberg not holding breath over Musk cage fight. Elon Musk is being an ass, which he normally is, but he's really being an ass about this fighting Mark Zuckerberg, saying he wants to fight him in a cage match because Zuckerberg is training MMA and he's doing a big, making pretty big noises about the fact that he does that. So Elon Musk wants to fight him in a cage match in the Coliseum, streamed live on X. Zuckerberg's like, yeah, I'm good. You want to talk this one up and go deeper into the story and of the battle between the millionaire jackasses? We can do this if you make this one of the top 15 stories for tomorrow throughout the day. Go to Facebook.com/This Is a Conversation Project and Twitter.com or X.com/TH_conversation and engage in these stories literally today. Like when we're done talking, go look for it. This one got posted right as we began recording, so it's there ready for you to go right now. Our sponsor story for today is Hostage Tape, and we want you to check them out because they could save your health. They could save your marriage. I say that often because it really is a big deal. Hostage Tape is the strongest, most comfortable mouth tape on the planet, and you put it on your mouth to keep your mouth shut. And this doesn't stop an argument. That's not what it's for. It's for your breathing, which may stop an argument, I guess. It keeps your mouth closed, your lips secured. That way you breathe through your mouth, your nose, naturally. You can't be a mouth breather if your mouth is closed. It works that way. If you're exercising and you're doing high endurance things and need to get more, just better air, better breathing, mouth tape is great for that. If you're a sleeper who snores, who has issues with breathing at night, mouth tape helps with that. Check it out at thisisaconversationproject.com/hostage tape. This is a conversationproject.com/hostage tape. Hostage tape is a great sponsor. We're glad to have them here, and they are an affiliate sponsor. All our sponsors are affiliates, unless we tell you otherwise. So we only get money from the sponsor from your buying from them. Check them out. There have been less giggles and more people saying, you know what, this stuff really works. So giggle if you want to, but check it out. read the reviews, see how it works, and then get some for yourself. It's hostage tape. Get it via our website, our affiliate link, and we get a small percentage from the buy. We thank you for that in advance. Now we're going to thank you in advance for the love you may want to show us and the love you do show us. The Conversation Project lives at thisistheconversationproject.com. That is our website. I mentioned that earlier. Now's the time for you to kind of think about going there. Not quite yet, though, because we still have fun stuff on the way. But we house all of our efforts, all our work here for the Conversation Project, which is one of the projects in my More Better Media LLC sort of portfolio that deals with news and information and literally having conversations with people about news, information, and current events and things like that. Go to the website and see what we have there. We have links to all of our old shows like this one, things you might have heard, in video form and audio form, and just a newsletter so you just get the stories. We have links to the weekend shows we do, which is the weekly wrap up and the story of the week, so you can get those as well. We have links to where we can be found all over the place, including TikTok and YouTube. And of course, as we've said here, we have sponsors links there as well. We also have a page for partnerships. So if you want to help us do a bit better in what we're doing, let us know by going to the partnerships page and finding a way that we can partner up together. It is up to you. There's various different ways. We believe that, well, we know that this is a big effort because we're doing the effort every single day, but we believe that with your help, you can help us do more things. If you believe in us and what you're doing, what you're seeing, then stop by the partnerships page and possibly think about partnering up with us today or tomorrow or a week from now. But the sooner, the better to keep things going. We can keep things going. A little bit extra help would help the cause. Now, we've done all the stuff that's the important stuff, air quotes important. And now let's get to the fun stuff of today. Fun stuff starts off every single weekday morning with birthdays, and today is no exception. Your birthdays for August the 7th start off with Wayne Knight, who's 68 years old and may not be doing very much in the way of anything relevant or new these days, but of course, famous for being in Jurassic Park, the original, not the 20 other sequels and the different offshoots and reboots, and of course, Newton from Seinfeld. Probably his most famous role is being in Seinfeld and being the nemesis for Jerry Seinfeld. David Duchovny, 63 years old on the day. He's doing more newer stuff than Wayne Knight is, being in Californication and, of course, The X-Files. And just doing some independent stuff. I think he's working on an independent film right now since the writers are not writing and the actors are not technically acting. 63 years old today for David Duchovny. And the very dapper and debonair Charlize Theron, who was 48 years old on this day. Let's talk about our history lesson for today. Back on the 7th of August in 1782, George Washington created the Order of the Purple Heart, a decoration to recognize merit in enlisted men and non-commissioned officers. That is something for people who do very, very valiant things, mostly being injured in the process in battle. And this was created by George Washington on this day back in 1782. In 1999, Wade Boggs, playing for Boston at the time, became the first player to homer for his 30,000th hit. Good shot for that. And in 2022, the last Salem witch's name was cleared. It took that long to clear that trial for the Salem witch trials because we Americans are kind of horrible at these things. Elizabeth Johnson Jr., a woman convicted of witchcraft during the Salem witch trials in the 1690s, see what I mean there, was finally exonerated after years of petitioning by Massachusetts teachers Carrie LaPierre and her 8th grade civics students. So, so quickly editorialized, we're kind of throwing, shade on Florida for saying that slaves learned good things and got good jobs out of the slave trade. We have been doing very not so great things in America for people for a long time. And it's okay to recognize that we did these things. You don't have to feel bad about it. No one in Massachusetts feel bad about the Salem witch trials in 2022. But they do realize that what happened in 1690 was kind of cruel, was kind of rude, and we probably should atone for it. So let's do that. Let's apologize and move on, and not worry about the fact that this happened with your great grandmother. I didn't kill no witches. No, but the people who did were bad. So let's acknowledge that it happened, so it doesn't happen again. August 7th is Professional Speakers Day. Now, this was one of the there was a list of things we choose from our service to kind of go through days, and this one was like the only one that actually cleared on August 7th. Sometimes they're a little off, and this one was true. Now, I, Jay Cleveland Payne, do speak professionally, not as much as I'd like to, but I'm going to go ahead and celebrate myself on this one. If you want to be a speaker, a professional speaker, reach out to me and we can maybe connect. We can partner up on that. If you have some speaking gigs for me, I do things on obviously news and information, things on personal development and processes and trying to get stuff done. I'm for hire. Email me at jclevelandpayne@gmail.com or the show at the conversation inbox at gmail.com and let me know if we can work out together on that one. Another way to partner up, if you will. Finally, one more thing you might not have heard. We didn't change this one. So we're going to just go ahead and do this one because it's here. This is from Friday. We actually didn't update this one because we didn't get the actual one thing in there. But one more time, remind you that women, this survey we had from women who transitioned through divorce, were asked the question, how is your ex still in the picture? So these are some of the answers to why, when asked that question, when they're getting divorced, why they're still engaging with their ex. 44% said, I tolerate my ex for the kids and try to act civil. 21% said, he's not. I want him cropped out of everything. 13% say, I love my ex, but just not the way I used to. 8% said, we still share some of the same friends, so we work in the same circles. And 6% said they're pretty cool. They would recommend their ex to someone else to go on a date because they love them, but just not the way they used to. I didn't do the math. I don't think that adds up to exactly 100%. So there's probably some responses in there that are missing. I'll have to actually go back and do the math since I forgot to move it out of there. It also isn't Friday, August the 4th. So that's another thing as well. So today is actually Monday, August the 7th. So if you allow me to press the button to get the right page, we will wrap this thing up and get out of here with the proper editing parts. There we go. Monday, August the 7th, 2023. Thank you so much for being a part of the show for this morning. Whether you popped in live with us, going to watch this video sometime throughout the day, or get the audio as well. We thank you so much for being here with us on The Conversation. Email us at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. Follow the feeds on Facebook and Twitter to tell us what to talk about. And, be lively, be good, be great. Get off to a great week as August is here, which means we're well within the 8th month of the year. For many folks, schools is starting or about to start. Things are getting into gear and we're transitioning out of summer, even though it's really, really still hot outside. In the meantime, stay limber, stay hydrated, stay on task for all the grand things you're here to do for everyone out there. And we're going to break away. Ran a little long this morning, but Mondays tend to with extra stuff to get into. We'll do better tomorrow. Promise. So let's see you tomorrow.